on the topic of weight and shifting of customer preferences and brands and all of that, I thought about this question as you were talking about a different topic earlier. I was going to bring it up, so now it's a good time. Do you feel like it's the OEMs that drive the weight of a car, or is it more the customer? Is it the customer's preferences to have more luxury, more standard things in the car driving the weight of the car, or is it still possible today to engineer a car that has everything and is still lightweight but keeping the package price fairly, I would say?
Yeah, it's a very complex question because like the cars that you see on the road are the intersection of what the manufacturer believes the customer wants and what the team that's actually behind the car feels is the answer to the wants, right? As well
Okay.
as maybe some of their personal beliefs in what makes design right, good or bad. So I said, like any car that you see on the road is that. Some of them more so on the side of pure design and performance, while the others are on the side of literally just answering a question for the customer, what the customer wants to buy. Like, here's what market research says they want. Let's literally use AI to develop what is that car, like fill X niche, which ends up making the cars usually quite boring and crossovery, right?
Yeah.
So no, it's a complex question. It's not an easy one to answer, unfortunately.
And what about the M5 weight? I mean, you haven't had a chance to drive the car. I'm assuming you will probably drive it in the near future as well. What do you think of the story there? Because I just did a podcast, last week with my co-host on just the weight of the M5, which was like an hour long, talking about the weight of the M5 in previous generations.
What's going to
Should
end up
have done
happening?
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. So
No, go ahead.
what's going to end up happening is we're all going to drive it and we're going to go like, doesn't feel like it weighs that much at all.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. Suspension design has come so far, right? Like if you put that car on 1990s suspension, it like you would break and the nose would hit the ground, right?
Sure.
But like suspension and the way that it can react using electric motors and all of the crazy sway bar technology and anti-roll technology we have now means that you can make whatever you want feel pretty light. But like for me, the issue with weight isn't when you're on a dry racetrack and exactly the conditions where the car is designed and that particular tire has been co-designed with Michelin or whatever for that car. It's when you're on a slipperier surface and physics exists and you start to feel the inertia of the car. You feel the weight transfer, like when you need to move it from one direction to another. That's when, doesn't matter how good the suspension design is, eventually weight starts to come in play. And the same goes for consumable component wear, right? Like every time you add a pound to the car, you have to increase the strength of a bushing so that it doesn't wear out after so many miles. The tires are going to wear out no matter what you do. The brakes are going to take a beating, right? And, there's just the article went, pretty viral the other day. The Cybertruck owners are amazed that their tires are only lasting 6,000 kilometers.
Yeah, kilometers. Yeah.
I'm not amazed,
Yeah,
right? That makes perfect sense. That's what's going to happen, right? And don't get me wrong, tire technology is moving so quickly. Right, like every time Michelin puts out a new PS5S, PSS5, whatever it is, it blows our mind, right? But again, I still think that, and Porsche's continuing to prove this, cars can still be light and modern at the same time. They do not actually need to be that heavy. Like, what did we just drove? We drove the Mercedes CL. Oh God, I didn't like it so much. I can't remember the name. CLS.
Hybrid?
No.
Oh,
CLA? CL.
Oh, then you want to come
CLE.
up was the CLA.
That's the CLE, yes.
Oh, the CLE that replaced the yeah.
Yes, the CLE, the 53. The doors on that car, we made a joke about it in the video, but I'm not kidding when I say they are the heaviest doors I have ever operated on a vehicle, period. Right? Really? Like they're so heavy that like I promise you that if you weren't paying attention, you know how all the time in your life you're like getting something out of the car and you open a door, you're kind of on a hill and the door closes and bumps you. This door would knock you clean over. It would knock over Dwayne Johnson, right? Like it was outrageously heavy. And my question there is why? Why does it weigh so much? Is it sound insulation? Because if that's the case, you've put the sound insulation in the wrong part. Put it in the floor, because there's, that's where a lot of the road noise is coming from, and then you keep the weight low anyway. But like, that's my biggest thing is like cars are way quieter than they used to be, no question. And to be fair, an M2 or an M4 is quieter than a 911 on the highway. The 911, you hear the tires, right? But I still think that BMW has gone too far in the direction of that, right? Bring back the weight a little bit. Cars used to be a lot lighter and they were still nice to drive, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, safety's a thing. 100% safety's a thing. But cars have been really safe for quite a few generations now. And, you know, this whole world is very, very complex because, as you know, the amount of regulations and things that the government's putting out, no matter where the cars are being made, result in concessions, no matter what you do in engineering, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of it is that. That's why a lot of cars are getting heavier, period. So it's not all the manufacturer's fault. But my question is, why is this car able to be lighter than its competitor? What did they do better? What did they prioritize more than you so that theirs now drives better? It doesn't go through tires and brakes as fast. It handles better, but
Yeah.
yours is heavier. Like that's my question. But yes, everything as a result is getting heavier. We can't escape that. That's just the reality.
I think it has to do mostly with the profitability, because some brands accept a lower percentage of profitability versus others, and I think it just really comes down to price. Because I just strongly believe that major German brands can build any car they want to, if money no object, or if they would just build a car of their dreams, they will be able to do that. They have the
Yeah,
knowledge, they have the skills. So it's
of
not it's
course.
not that. It's just balance between everything, regulations, pricing, and all of that. And then you have to cut corners in certain areas. And I've seen that recently with some cars. But on the M5 topic, just to close that off, I drove the car, a pre-production car, on the track. It was fast, ridiculous fast, but it was heavy. I mean, especially since I drove the car back to back with the M4CS, I could see the difference between a heavy car, and a lightweight car that's made for the track and all of that. So,
Yeah.
question is, are customers ever going to track the M5? Probably not. Are people going to complain about the weight? For sure. I mean, it's a heavy car and there is no way around it. So I
Yeah.
think they're stuck with that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on EVs? So we're getting close to the end. What's your take on EVs?
I don't have any problem with EVs. I would prefer to drive an EV every day. For me, the issue is just the actual livability of them. Commute to work and you're 100 kilometers away at the most, then perfect. Charge at
Yeah.
home. But if you want to go on trips or adventures and you need to go do